Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's Colleen from GE Designs. We are here in Chaska, Minnesota, and I see you all from all over. Thank you, thank you. And thanks for saying good morning. We love knowing who's watching and where you're from. We always love that, don't we? So,
of course.
Producer crew today, we have two. We have Mr. KP and Mr. GP.
Hello, hello all.
There they are.
Hello, everyone.
Mr. GP, getting ready for a big trip?
Going to Iceland tomorrow.
Who's all going?
The whole family this time. For the first time, everyone's
Oh
going.
my gosh.
But not KP.
Not KP.
Not this time.
You're kind of a distant family member.
Yeah.
Not quite immediate family quite yet.
We'll say that.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see pictures and videos of the Iceland trip. I think that's just going to be amazing. So today is, as you know, One Yard Wednesday. So this is the day where we show you fun and creative ideas for using fabulous fabrics at fantastic prices. And we have a really fun collection today that has a panel in it. So we'll talk a little bit about panels in just a minute. Just remember, sale prices will be live as soon as the show is over. So sit back, put your feet up, have a sip of your morning beverage, and you can shop when the show is over. Thanks for that. And so let's talk about the quilts on the set. First up is Bellatrix. Bellatrix, I'm going to go the wrong way. So Bellatrix is the quilt behind me, and now Bellatrix is actually the blocks around this panel, and Julie did a great job on this. We'll talk some more about it. And behind KP is Emma. And Emma is a great quilt all on its own, and it also is a great block for building out a quilt around a panel. So we've got some fun ideas relative to panels for you today.
We'll show you that in a little bit.
Absolutely. So guess what? I have a question. So my question is, how do you square up a panel when you want to make a quilt? Now, we get this question a lot actually in the crew Facebook group. We get it in email. I see people talking on Facebook and other social media about this quite a bit. What do we do in the warehouse when a bolt of panels comes in, KP?
We got to cut those very strategically.
Yes.
Takes a while.
Yeah, it takes a while. We cut those just one panel at a time, because you can't lay a bolt full of panels out and just cut, because you'll end up trimming off some important parts of the panel. So my tips for you are to think about, do some design planning before you start cutting your panel. How do you want to use it? Do you want to add blocks to it? Do you want to add borders to it, etc.? And then that will help you decide how you want to trim your panel and how you want to make it square. So let's look at a couple of panels, for example. First up, I have the panel that's behind me, which is Noir, and it is such a cool panel. And I'll open it so you can actually see the image. So Noir is a panel that is 1 yard in length. So that's another question. Whenever you purchase a panel, you want to know how big it is. Noir has a black border around it on all four sides, and it's, like I said, it's 1 yard. So immediately I would want to ask myself, in my design, do I want to keep this black border, or do I want to trim off this black border? And how do I want to use this panel? Typically, I will trim off the border. Even if I want to add a black border to this, I might trim this off, because it's going to be easier for me to create a square, to square this up, if I'm going to add to this panel, so that this looks accurate all the way around, if you know what I mean. And we'll look at Julie's example in just a minute. So I would press this, and then I would trim off the panel on one side, and then I would trim off the border on the other side. I would also pay attention to the image and ask myself, how much white space do I want? Do I want to trim off, let me pull this up. Do I want to trim off some of this white space, or do I want to keep that white space? And that's going to depend on both your design and how you're going to finish this. If you're going to finish this by putting borders around it, it's less important how much of this white space you're going to keep. If you're going to put blocks around it, then you want to land on a dimension that will accommodate a block. So let's look at Julie's Bellatrix, which is right behind me. So Julie took the panel and trimmed it, and she actually trimmed off that black border and added a black border back on here. And so that gave her a perfect trimmed panel and a perfectly pieced and sized inner border. Then she added the Bellatrix blocks all around, and Bellatrix is a great block to add because it's a little block. So it is, it's 6 inches, it's 5.5 inches finished. It's 5.5 inches finished. So 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. So she basically added the dimension of this inner border that she needed to get to fit the Bellatrix blocks, and I love how this looks. We mocked up another example of this technique using Emma. So will you put up Emma? So how cute is Emma? So that is the panel that is part of our show today, and I will keep talking. I'm getting the keep talking gesture from one of the producers. So there's the panel we'll show you in just a little bit. And we put that panel on top of Emma just to show you how cute that would be. So there's all kinds of fun and creative ideas for using the panels. The next panel I have is also another large panel. This is one of GP's favorites. This is Woodland and Wildflowers, and this will look familiar because you would have seen this on the back of Gigi. Now, Woodland and Wildflowers is another panel that's 1 yard in length, and again, the decision would be how much, what do I want to do with this panel, and how much of this black background do I want to keep in order to achieve my vision with the panel. So again, I'm thinking I could just put borders around this, I could put blocks around this, I could do a lot with it, and if I wanted to trim this to square it up, I can do that. I can always add an inner border to add a little bit of dimension there. I think the one thing that I hear people concerned about is that the panels are a little wonky. So don't worry too much about that. You can certainly resize your panel or reorient it by kind of tugging on across grain, and then you'll get it nice and square and true. So what you don't ever want to do with a panel is, layer it and just start trimming as you would a yardage, because obviously these are not going to lay down flat, and you're going to cut away some important parts of your panel. So one cut at a time, do your measuring, and then cut the opposite sides. So that's my favorite way to use a panel. So that's
you got a picture of Bellatrix behind you as well.
Oh yeah, let's look at the Bellatrix. So this is the finished Bellatrix. So that's the panel behind me. And then, like I said, Julie put that really fun inner border, and that squares that up, adds enough dimension so the Bellatrix blocks fit perfectly. So then you can see how those blocks go around. She's got two rows of blocks, top and bottom, and then left and right. So it's perfectly centered, and I really love it. Good job, Julie.
Got a question for you.
All right. Did Julie trim off some of the white from the panel too? I expect that she did, because there is a lot of white on that panel. And so, if I look here at this image here, so she would have trimmed off up to that. and the same on this side. So it's okay to do that when you want to achieve a panel that is a certain size. Don't feel obligated to use it exactly as you receive it. Trim it to the size that will work for you and your design. So do a little designing and sketching before you get started. So that's a little bit about panels. So should we look at the fabric for today?
Let's do it.
Speaking of panels, the first one is a panel. The first fabric is a panel, and it's called ABC Animals Around the World, and I think this is such a cute panel. So this happens to be 2/3 of a yard, so 24 inches. So this panel is not going to be as generous as the two that we already looked at. This panel also has a red border on the left and right, but not on the top and bottom. So when I decided how to use my panel for the project I'll show you in just a second, I trimmed off the red left and right because it just, first of all, there's not enough of it to do anything design-wise, and I don't have it on the top and the bottom, so I trimmed that off. But here are these fun alphabets: alligator and bear and camel and giraffe and koala, and the second half of the alphabet, rhinoceros and urial and whale and toucan. I think this is a really, really cute and fun and playful panel. I really like it. What do you guys think?
I know I would have loved it when I was a kid.
You would have loved it. You probably still love it. You probably still love it.
You're right, I do. GP said he loves it.
Yeah, the animals are fun and interesting, I think. So there is the first thing, and this is, like I said, Animals Around the World panel. And then the fabrics that we have that go with this are, first up, look how fun this one is. This is called Giraffe Brown. How clever is that? It's the giraffe spots, which I just think is really, I love the scale of it. I love the color of it. And of course, the animal print is always going to be a fun image. And then this softer color, this is called Letters All Over Cream. So this is the alphabet, not in alphabetical order, just all of the letters in different colors and a happy looking font. That's a great print too. And then Around the World Animals Multi. So that is includes the animals that you see in the panel, and then the alphabet and all these really wonderful colors. Again, super fun kid print, juvenile print. And then finally, we added in a red to round this out. So this one is called Texture Red. So I could even spread these out a little bit more. So we don't have as many fabrics today, but the ones we have are really impactful and so cute. So I'll move this so you can see some more panels.
We got a question.
Great. What is the X animal? I think it's X-ray. X-ray fish? Is there such a thing as an X-ray fish? Oh my gosh, see? I'm glad we have all that. Here it is.
Let's see.
X-ray fish.
I know because I was going through it with Yoey yesterday.
Ah, see?
I wouldn't have guessed that.
I wouldn't have guessed that. I was guessing X-ray, but I didn't know we had an X-ray fish. Thanks for the question, and thanks for the research, GP and Yoey. Yoey's helped us name a couple of things. On an earlier one, he named an animal that we weren't quite sure about. So he's a great asset to this team.
He really is. We got another question as well.
All right. Any suggestions when the panel is a thin fabric? So if your panel is a thin fabric, you can always add a neutral color to it and just treat the panel and the backing of that panel as one. You could base them together around the exterior. I wouldn't fuse them because I'm never happy with what the fusing I get when I fuse the top of a quilt or the top of a project, the outside. So I would I think that's what I would do. I would add a lining to that panel in the form of a neutral colored fabric that would if it shows through the panel at all, it won't take away from the images. So that's my suggestion for that. Good questions. So here's my panel as it's finished. So I started with, of course, the panel, and I trimmed it down generously. I wanted this to be a certain finish size. I added the giraffe brown, which I love. I added this yellow from a previous One Yard Wednesday stash. I did this on purpose, actually, to just remind you, pull any of these colors out of your stash and it will be a nice add. But I felt like I needed a rest between the brown and the animals multi. I used the golden rule, that sort of 1.6 rule. So this is 1 finished inch, this is 1.5 finished inch, and then this one is about a little over 2. So I'm getting a little bit bigger as I go. And actually this one I made a little larger than the golden rule because I just thought I needed to see more of that because it's just so cute. And then I used the texture red for my binding. You want to show the picture of the whole thing? Look at that. How cute is that? So then I didn't do a quilt as you go technique. If you look closely at this, I did fuse my backing to my batting, and then I pinned my top onto the whole piece, finished the top, and then I pinned this to make the sandwich. And then I simply shadow or echo stitched with my my regular sewing machine, my baby lock machine, around all the letters, and that worked out great. I think that looks cute. And then I did stitch in the ditch along these borders, and so that's where you see the quilting on the back. So here's the A and the B and so on, and then the images. The back of this is very piecey, which I often do on these little projects because I've got smaller pieces that I like to use up. And I just love this. I love it. So here are a couple more tips. As you're thinking about your panel and what size you'd like it to be, you can go to GEQuiltDesigns.com and grab this document, and it includes the finished block size for some of our patterns. Certainly not all of our patterns, but you'll see Emma here, which is behind KP, and we took that picture with the panel, and I love that. So Emma is an 8-inch finished block. Let's see, Nina would also be fun. Nina is 6 by 8, so you could have a couple of layers of blocks as well for Nina. And then the next one I chose is Katie, and Katie is here. Katie is another one that's 8 inches finished. And then here's Bellatrix. Bellatrix is from Stripology Mixology 3, and Bellatrix is finished 5.5 inches. So that's a nice versatile size, so you'll get more blocks across a smaller panel. So that's my panel and my project, and I love it. Thanks everybody for the comments. I appreciate it. All righty. So I've got a notion. My notion is the Gypsy Quilter 12-inch presser bar with clapper. So the presser bar is a piece of wood covered in wool, and you can lay your fabric across here and do your pressing without pressing all of the other things around. So let's say you've got one seam that needs to be pressed open, but you don't want to press the rest of the block. You can lay your block on here, press that seam, and your block will just hang over this. It's also great if you've got an inside lining, or you've got a sleeve, or you've got something else where you just want to get at that seam but not the whole piece. So you can press, and then when you're finished pressing, you'll lay your piece flat and lay your clapper on top of it until it cools, and it will be flat and perfect every time. This is, again, the 12-inch wool pressing bar with clapper. So there you go. And you don't have to use it for the pressing part if you can use it all the time for the clapper part. That is actually a really great tool to be sure your pressing looks good. So that's my notion. All right. So should we talk a little bit about classes?
Let's do it.
So as you know, we have a classroom here in our home office, if you will, the home of GEDesigns. We're in Chaska, Minnesota, and you can come on in and visit us and take a class. Tomorrow kicks off the beginning quilting class. It'll be 3 sessions, and it starts at 4 p.m. Central Time until 8 p.m. And in that time, you can make either Colby or Diana. So that is going to be really fun. And in 3 sessions, you'll definitely get the top of that done, even if you're a beginner. So come on in for that beginning class. Next up, we have a bag class on August 2nd. We're celebrating Svana's birthday by making Drop Zone. And that's a fun bag. This is the bag Gudrun made and showed on the Biani show when she did the Biani show, and it's a really versatile and fun bag to make. So another fun class. Don't forget, we have Open Sew most Fridays. We have Sewing for a Cause most Tuesdays. If you have any questions at all, obviously check out gequiltsdesigns.com and email us, and we'll give you all the details. So shall we look at the fabric one more time, guys?
I don't see why not.
Let's do it. All right, so here is the project. I'll show just one time because I wanted to just show you what fun this is and how easy it is to make a panel into a quilt. And I quilted this on my domestic machine and this is a project in a day. First up is Texture Red, and that is a beautiful texture that adds a lot to this whole collection. And then Around the World, Animals Multi. So all these cute animals, the fish and the octopus, and so much fun. And then Letters All Over Cream. This has, again, all of the colors that you see in multi in the letters, which are just so fun, in capitals and lowercase. And then Giraffe Brown, probably my favorite, as I look at the prints and the panel. The Giraffe Brown really pulls this together for me. And then, of course, the star of the show is the panel. It's 2/3 of a yard, so it's 24 inches by 42 inches, 24 inches by width of fabric, and it has the whole alphabet, and it is so cute. Our notion today is the 12-inch presser bar by Gypsy Quilter, and presser bar and clapper, so that will help with your pressing.
We got a lot of comments about that. People love theirs.
Yeah. It's a great tool. It's a really great tool. And you know, I'm working with someone right now on a quilt, and she really hates the pressing part, but it's just so important. A couple patterns that are going to be helpful are just ideas for you as you're thinking about making a quilt with a panel and you want to add some blocks. You could add Nina, you could add Katie, and you could add Emma, as we showed. And then you could also think about Bellatrix, which Julie used on the Noir panel behind us from Stripology Mixology 3. So much fun. That's our show. Don't forget to check us out at gequiltdesigns.com, and you'll see everything we have to show you, classes and fabrics and so on. Any last thoughts over there, producers?
When's our next show?
Our next show, 1 week from today. So that is going to be, July 31st?
July 31st? I
can't
believe
believe
how
it.
fast the summer is gone.
I can't believe it. Oh my goodness. Well, we'll see on July 31st. We have a fun collection next week too, I just want to say. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Grab your Stripology ruler. Make yourself something wonderful today. Bye-bye.